cancel culture only exists if the person believes it exists. It's very weird, very mental. I've seen more people actually are worse off after they say sorry more than people ignore it. That was what I was going to say.
There's something going on. YouTube is more than a place where one uploads videos. In its entirety, it's also a community, and criticism is an integral part of that community. Criticism from the community members has helped to impede fake pranks, the defamation of other community members, and its most recent win, protecting the user's rights to fair use. Some have even built their careers off the back of criticism, whether it be in a humorous way or a more analytical way. And when some scandal does happen, the viewers look to these people for their opinion, someone to tell them the tea, someone with a big enough reach to yell at the offender, someone to assure them that there's still some morals in this world. They've essentially created trust with viewers during a time of internet chaos, when an offender deviates from the standard morals of the majority.
Stop!
But there's a sudden rise of hate for these supposed trustworthy creators, and this is most notably seen in the YouTuber ImAllexx. Welcome to Psych IRL, my name is Donna. Now, Alex,
Hello everyone,
ImAllexx is getting a lot of hate. Actually, now looking at his videos, it's getting a little bit better. The like to dislike ratio used to be really bad, and this is because of the Slazo situation. Now, I don't want to go too in depth about this because demonetization won, and most importantly though, a lot of creators have already talked about this, so I'm just gonna say the gist. The gist of the situation is Slazo is a drama / commentary YouTuber who was heavily accused of very horrible things. Now, a lot of the people in the drama / commentary community had stuff to say about this, and they were reprimanding Slazo, and this includes ImAllexx.
The twit longer from Shay, which had these allegations in it. Alex helped to orchestrate the whole thing. Leaked DMs from their Discord group, which are 100% real, shows them all planning together to release this twit longer with Shay. So not only did Alex not go to Slazo when the allegations were first presented to him, he schemed and plotted behind Slazo's back to end him.
If you were friends with somebody, wouldn't you contact them?
Later, Slazo comes up with a defense video, and it turns out his defense was pretty valid, but his reputation was tarnished by a lot of the commentary drama channels that spoke out against him. ImAllexx, along with other channels, took some time to apologize. ImAllexx did take a longer time, and I think that is why he's getting some massive hate. And now this video is not to defend him, but it is to examine why it seems like Alex is getting the most hate. In the world of drama / commentary, there seems to be two perceived notions: good and evil. Take those notions with a grain of salt though, because those concepts don't really exist. Maybe we can exchange them for trustworthy and not trustworthy. But anyway, these two notions are more of how the audience perceives creators on the platform. For instance, people generally feel Philip DeFranco and H3H3 would lie on this side because a majority of viewers see their opinions as fair, logical, and common sense. On the other side would be people like Keemstar and Leafy is here, RIP. They have reputations that involve controversy, and they have unpopular opinions. Again, keep in mind that these labels are arbitrary. Not everyone sees these creators this way, but the average audience member does because of the reputation these creators have built. Now, before the Slazo situation, I would say most viewers would place ImAllexx on this side of the spectrum. Interestingly enough, as of recent, there seems to be an increasing amount of hate for creators who lie on this side, which I believe has led to the downfall of Alex. Wait, Donna, so you're saying that Alex being a fair, neutral commentary / drama channel has led to his downfall? Partially, yeah. I know it sounds crazy, but let me explain this theory. Okay, so there was a tweet by @thewavywebsurfer, and it says the entire narrative of YouTube is being flipped upside down in 2019. The entire wave or our videos endorsed YouTube channels from 2015 and 2016 are being canceled, and Logan Paul and this guy are becoming more likable by the day. So it does seem like there is this increased hate for these trusted channels. And I think this was clearly seen in 2018. In 2018, two very well trusted creators went under some controversy. Ethan Klein from H3H3 angered his audience by uploading an ad about a new game he created after not uploading on his channel for a while.
Have you ever wanted to ride a huge inflatable ball on the beach? What about a huge inflatable sweaty dude named Ethan? Would you ride his fupa?
This triggered a number of critical videos about Ethan for past mistakes, such as the need for him to improve his hosting skills on his podcast and making his friends feel awkward on said podcast. Philip DeFranco gained criticism for supporting BetterHelp and how he uses his Patreon funds. What's interesting about those supposed scandals is that when each event came out, no one batted an eye. In the case of DeFranco's Patreon situation, things even seemed settled over the internet. Criticism came from people like Havos and Keemstar, but those videos weren't well received at first.
You could ask your fans for a lot of money through Patreon to do the exact same thing you've been doing for years.
Fast forward months later and the same story is covered. This time though, DeFranco loses some support on Patreon and has to hide the amount of patrons and funds he receives. What's fascinating is that these two creators, who seem to be very trusted in the community, now have a group of people who are hypercritical of them. This group was always here, of course, but it does now seem larger. ImAllexx, I think, is in the same boat.
The supposed good guy of the commentary community, who, by the way, is making money.
Now, it's pretty clear that ImAllexx made several mistakes, but the thing is, so did a lot of his friends. And it can be said that his public apology was way worse than anybody else's.
And I was hoping and expecting a video of him talking about this, because tweeting out an apology just doesn't show any genuine remorse or sincerity behind what you've done. Especially with how serious all this has been. I don't know if it was how badly your last video was received and recent declines on Social Blade that might have been what pushed your hasty response, but you can do better than this, ImAllexx.
But it does make me wonder, why wasn't the criticism equally distributed? Perhaps answers can be found in the parallels between mainstream news and the good drama/commentary channels on YouTube. Americans' trust in the media has been declining for the past decade. According to a 2018 survey done by Gallup and the Knight Foundation, 69% of adults in the US say their trust in the news/media has declined. The biggest reason for distrust include inaccurate information and biased reporting. Like our spectrum of drama/commentary channels, it doesn't necessarily mean mainstream media is actually like this, it's just how the audience perceives them. I think a lot of the media's image is being heavily impacted by the changing landscape of journalism, thanks to the internet. In 2017, print newspaper became the least sought after news source for Americans. It may not seem like a big deal on the surface, but this is the core of journalism.
Even if you only get your news from Facebook, Google, Twitter, those places are often just repackaging the work of newspapers, and it is not just websites. Watch how often TV news ends up citing print sources.
According to the Chicago Tribune.
According to the Detroit Free Press.
According to the San Francisco Chronicle.
According to the Times Picayune.
And it is not just news outlets. Stupid shows like ours lean heavily on local papers. The media is a food chain which would fall apart without local newspapers. And the problem is, print ads are less popular with advertisers than they used to be, and online ads produce much less revenue.
Now that print is slowly declining, newspapers that have moved to an online format have to tweak their business models just a little bit.
My attitude on journalism is very simple. I want to make enough money so I can afford you. It's really that simple, okay? You need to, in effect, help me by being a journalist that focuses on what our readers want and therefore generates more revenue. We understand unequivocally that the heart and soul of this business is the editorial side of the business. That's our content. But if we don't have the revenue, it doesn't really matter.
But what readers want are puppy dogs, and I mean, we also need to inform the community.
I'm sorry. I can't, you're giving me the classic, what I would call journalistic arrogance of deciding that puppies don't count. I don't know anything about puppies. What I'm interested in is how can we generate additional interest in our product and additional revenue so we can make our product better and better. And hopefully we get to the point where our revenue is so significant that we can do puppies and a rat.
The motive to cover a story is now governed by how many clicks it'll get. In my opinion, this is closely related to the rising distrust of media. It can be said the motive someone makes a video is quite similar. Okay, imagine yourself as a drama channel. So your business model is reporting outlandish stories to get views, to get money. The need for views isn't inherently bad. In fact, it's a great system that can motivate creativity by helping to sustain individuals financially. But views as a motivator can falter because you begin to see non-issues as issues, and I think viewers can see through that. You begin to look for things that aren't actually there and blow them out of proportion for clicks. This is seen in something as simple as color. In a study done by Lavari and colleagues, participants had a simple task: judge whether a dot was blue. Subjects were shown a spectrum of colors from very blue to very purple. In the beginning of the experiment, researchers presented a substantial amount of blue dots. As time went on, fewer blue dots were shown. In this part of the experiment, participants seemed to expand their concept of blue and began classifying purple dots as blue. This study seemed to insinuate that if you look for something, you're likely to see it even though it's not there. Incredibly, the results were also seen in more than just color. Threatening versus non-threatening faces. Non-threatening faces were seen as threatening when told to look for it. Ethical versus unethical proposals. Ethical proposals were seen as unethical when told to look for them. Because it's a drama/commentary channel's job to look for issues in the YouTube community, sometimes they can make non-issues issues. And I think this is a driving factor that places sort of distrust for the supposed trusted creators. I've already mentioned this in one of my old videos, but Alex makes an assumption that Jeff Wittek is uncomfortable during a video with James Charles.
He has an entire video on his channel with Jeff Wittek where Jeff is incredibly uncomfortable as James comes onto him for the entire thing. But it's an entire video where that's all they talk about, and it's just about pressuring him to maybe sleep with him.
He essentially seems upset for him, but from Jeff's perspective, this isn't true in the slightest.
What's the big deal? Why is he like having a big cancel party?
Another factor I believe leads to an audience distrust is the guise of morals. So this clip is from a journalism channel, Boss Wiki. Go ahead and check them out after this if you want. This clip is an interview between a journalist and Paul McCartney. A journalist asks Paul McCartney whether or not he abuses these substances. Substances I'm not going to mention because of demonetization.
About 4 times.
And where did you get it from?
Oh, you know, I mean, if I was to say where I got it from, you know, it's illegal and everything. It's silly to say that.
Don't you believe that this was a matter which you should have kept private?
But the thing is, you know, that I was asked a question by a newspaper. And the decision was whether to tell a lie or to tell him the truth. You know?
And then the journalist asks him if he is worried that he's going to affect his audience by his behavior and encourage his audience by doing these substances.
You know, I was asked whether I had or not. And then from then on, the whole bit about how far it's going to go and how many people it's going to encourage is up to the newspapers and up to you, you know, on television. I mean, you're spreading this now at this moment. This is going into all the homes, you know, in Britain. And I'd rather it didn't, you know. But you're asking me the question. You want me to be honest. I'll be honest, you know.
But as a public figure, surely you've got a responsibility to lots and
No,
lots
it's
of
you've
teenagers.
got the responsibility. You've got the responsibility not to spread this now. You know, I'm quite prepared to keep it as a very personal thing, if you will too.
The interview was eventually broadcasted. I think a lot of trusted drama/commentary YouTube channels exhibit the same paradox as this interview.
I swear to God, Alex, I see right through you, right? This whole act, this whole persona that you put online, like you're some good guy and you're the moral compass, I see right through it.
Reporting a story because it's the right thing to do, of course, isn't bad. But when we know that the motive is clicks, this comes off as virtue signaling.
If you want to hustle, if you want to get in there, you know, I'm told from my personal friends, he's very professional offline. He really works hard, but then he presents this image that, you know, he's some like a moral compass and he doesn't care about the money. Of course he does. Of course he cares about the money. He's a professional YouTuber.
It's beneficial for large channels to call out the daddy of fives on the internet, the Austin Joneses, but when your channel is based on call out and criticism, it puts you in a tough spot because controversies of that caliber don't happen all the time. You also need to sustain your business though by reporting something. It forces you to look for smaller issues that sometimes really aren't issues. And when the audience considers you to be a fair channel, you have to decide between covering a non-issue and sustaining your business. To be clear, it doesn't really affect channels like Drew Gooden, Cody Ko, and Danny Gonzalez because they don't talk about trending topics, and their intention sometimes isn't really to criticize people, it's to roast them. It doesn't affect channels like Drama Alert and Keemstar because he's pretty clear with his intentions too. It isn't to be critical of the community, it's sincerely to bring you drama, to spill the tea. And so it doesn't come off as virtue signaling. And more importantly, I think the channel ImAllexx is seen as mainstream, and it's just this one giant cycle. Satire news makes fun of mainstream news sometimes. Smaller commentary and drama channels make fun of big commentary channels that are seen as mainstream. And I think that's just going to progress more in the future, which is why there is a lot of hate for these channels. That's the end of the video. I will see you guys next time. Stay psyched.